What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to break down delivery numbers. Does Lucid have actually what it takes to get to that 6,000 mark at the end of the year or not? I'm going to break it down, go over all the fun facts that you need to know. Before I do, making sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe is always greatly appreciated. With that though, let's get right to it. Live tickers going at the very bottom of the screen, currently down 2.93%, 14.4 million for volume, 1.6 million shares being purchased by institutions just today alone. So that's not too bad, kind of in line with the average, and 96, almost 97,000 number of trades. So in that regard, it's definitely starting to pick back up for that. So that's a good sign. So I'm going to go through all the fun facts that you need to know. And when it comes down to delivery numbers, I don't think anyone can give an estimate without referring to 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗛 Workshop. He's been a very pivotal part in the overall Lucid community, giving a lot of insight. And funny enough, sometimes I take a step back and realize, imagine we didn't have this asset. Because if we were just simply relying on the earnings calls, which are very dry and very unenthusiastic, we would just unfortunately really hate Lucid. I think that's a mere fact of that. So there is a lot of good things coming from this, but based on all the flyovers so far in Q3, it doesn't appear as though things are starting to ramp up. Still roughly between the 10 to 15 vehicles per day, and that's even being conservative. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. When it comes down to it though, a lot of people want to know and are assuming things are already fixed. But based on the Q2 earnings, which again came out on August the 3rd, and as well, just so you guys are aware, Q3 started at the very beginning of July. So given the circumstances of what I'm just going to bring up, it doesn't necessarily look good per se. And what I'm looking at is this paragraph right here. So it does say, but I do believe that we've identified the primary bottlenecks and have already taken the steps to begin to remedy the situation. So he's obviously referring to the situation that obviously caused all these delays per se. So when it comes down to it though, when I read that, it says that they are addressing it still at that stage. So August the 3rd, the issue was not repaired or fixed. They were beginning to work on it. So again, like I already mentioned, July at the beginning was the start of Q3. So given the circumstances, we already were 1 month behind schedule per se based on everything. So that's how I see things. Keep in mind though, I'm not a financial advisor. Do your own due diligence at the end of the day. I am not spreading any FUD. I am not shorting Lucid whatsoever. I just like to give the facts, and coming from an investor standpoint, you always have to be aware of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we already know when it comes down to Lucid, this is the ugly. Delivery numbers is the ugly aspect of that. Again, we are a first year production company, so I think we have to give ourselves a little bit of slack, but only a little bit, right? So again, getting back to all this fun stuff, keep in mind, so by August, hypothetically, we were in line with Q2. So I'm just going to have and pop over to this fun Excel document that I did create just to break it down for you. So as you can see here at the very top, you see the target. So 6,000. Q1, we had 360 deliveries, Q2, 679. It is fair to say that most likely we're going to be similar to what Q2 did project, or come out with, I should say. So 679, and let's say for argument's sake, let's just round that up to 1,000. So for Q3, let's say we do have 1,000 vehicles that was delivered. So again, some known facts that we do have, they said during Q2 earnings, they did actually produce 1,405 vehicles. So that's produced, not delivered. But with that aside though, I did make a fun formula right here. So assuming we do at least have 1,000 vehicles delivered in Q3, which let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. I personally feel it will be somewhere between the 679 that we did have in Q2 to between around the 1,000. I can't see us doing more than 1,000 in Q3. Like I already just mentioned, on August the 3rd, there was still that issue. So they haven't fixed it at that stage, and that obviously just limits the amount of actual production that they can do. And to match all of that as well, based on the flyovers from 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗛 Workshop, it doesn't seem as though they're really ramping up. So I think there's going to be a huge anticipation based on Q4. So getting right to it though, they do need to do 43.05 vehicles per day in Q4 to hit that target, which again is a very low target. They initially did have 20,000, reduced it to between the 12 to 14,000, and now between the 6 and the 7. Despite all of that though, they're still is a large sentiment and belief that they will not even hit that 6,000. And if they unfortunately do not, then I see that the price is going to go down dramatically. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But like I said, if they do have that 1,000, that will leave 3,961 vehicles that they need to do. And so that does, like I said, break that down between 43 vehicles a day. Again, that is attainable. Keep in mind, we can do roughly 35,000 vehicles as far as capacity, given the circumstances of where the AMP facility is. So I don't think 43 is too far-fetched. And also keep in mind though, that could change. Let's say for instance, they only do 200 vehicles in Q3, which again could be a little bit far-fetched on that regard, a little bit more of an extreme low, but still that would make it roughly about 52 vehicles a day that they need to do. Still, despite all that though, very much attainable. Again, Lucid's always reiterated that is Q4, that's when they're really going to ramp up production. Based on some tweets as well, it does look like they're really starting to ramp up on the Pure as well, starting to get that out. That's going to be a very big game changer for Lucid. I just did a video on that exact point as well. But still, despite all that though, I'm a very big fan of Lucid. I know they're going to do a lot of good things. This is just unfortunately the one kryptonite and one negative that they do have, and hopefully they do fix it. Keep in mind, 43 vehicles a day is not too bad, especially for their first year production. But with all the competition that is going to be entering into the EV sector, they really need to ramp this up no matter what. No matter how good their technology is or whatever the next level it is, you need production. You need to get that out. As much as I know a lot of people like to compare them to Porsche and whatever it is, a lot of companies that don't produce a lot of vehicles but have high-end vehicles, I don't think that's where Lucid wants to go. And unfortunately, if that is the case, I think that a lot of investors are going to personally get out of Lucid if they ever do change their criteria about the number of vehicles. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. But despite all of that though, there still is a huge amount of institutional purchasing that's happening. Like I always bring up, looking on the dark pool, and the number of trades still continues to be there. So a lot of big money still finds significant value with Lucid, especially now that we're in the 1450 range. So I think this is a little bit more advantageous for a lot more institutions and retail investors to get in. Unfortunately, looking on the actual technicals, number of retail investors, you can tell, are just out. They're very fearful about the broader market, or maybe just the recent $8 billion shelf offering. There's a lot of different aspects to that. Stochastic though is at 9, very oversold, similar to the RSI. And looking on the actual chart, lower percentile of Bollinger Band, so we're kind of in no man's land a little bit. Hypothetically, all we know is that 1325 is our next support level. So again, let me know your thoughts on all that in the comments below. It does look like we are on a little bit more of a negative trend, so most likely I will be buying around the $13 mark, which potentially could come this week. So let me know your thoughts on all of that, on Lucid, and where you are at. If you do believe in Lucid and think they can actually get to that 6,000 overall production by the end of the year, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and are subscribing, because I do daily videos on Lucid. Like I always say, I like to give the good, the bad, and the ugly. Obviously, this video isn't necessarily the most optimistic, but it is still a very important part that a lot of investors really need to factor in and keep in mind. So with all that, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, like I said, and with all of that, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.